gather around. I have a story to tell. Come real close. Come real close. Yeah, yeah. All right, good. Get your ass back. This is the deal. I recently had an exchange talking about eBay and PayPal, and I've had many years of dealing with both, and there was something that came through probably around 2005, 2004, 2005 that I realized eBay's not your business. It's their business. And many people put the time, effort, and energy into eBay as if it was their own blood. You're just a part of the machinery, just a clog in the mechanism. It's not your deal because at any time they could push a button and your business is shut down. That's a very, very scary proposition to be in. I'll tell you what led up to this chain of thinking. I bought a unit. Actually, I bought two units, two really good units. I mean, crazy units. They essentially changed my life. Up until getting those units, was doing about anywhere from 3 to 4 thousand in average sales. And that's not profit, that's gross sales on eBay. Well, after getting these units, which belonged to a true collector who owned a collectible shop, he had great stuff, awesome stuff. It was just, I mean, there was no trash in the unit. So the average sales volume went from what it was to 20, 30 grand in a week. And I got a call from eBay and I got a call from PayPal. I felt very special. I mean, I felt so special. I was like, oh man, they calling me. You know, I'm becoming one of the big wigs, right? Wrong. We're just calling to see how you're doing. You know, we noticed that your volume has done this and this. And I was like, well, isn't that the name of the game? I mean, seriously, you know, you get in the business to make money. And when you make a lot more money, that's kind of a win, right? And she said, well, yes, you know, and it was just so sudden. And I was like, that it was. But I'm thankful. And, you know, I thought that was the end of it. The next day, my user ID was suspended and my PayPal account was limited. Now, funny thing about limiting your PayPal account, you can still receive payments, but you cannot take payments out or use the money that's coming in, which pretty much, in my estimation, is you're taken to a metal rail, you're bent over, your handcuffs are shackled to your feet, and then there's some big noise coming from behind you, and I'm telling you, nothing good can come from behind. Nothing good can come from that. And there was 32 grand frozen. Now the unit was so good that there was other things that I couldn't sell on eBay anyway, and I was selling those things, so everyone got their stuff. Things went lovely, and then I went through this process of where PayPal was saying submit this, and I submitted all that stuff, and it was still locked up for a period of time, a very long period of time. Then, you know, some of the techniques I developed that I talk about in my webinars is how I got back online with that. But long story short, everything was cleared up, and I thought, hey, okay, you know, after that, we should be good to go. 8 months later, it happened again. And I'm going to give you some insights to why it happened. When you have a certain surge in sales, that brings up risk triggers. Now, I'm not really opposed to PayPal and eBay having some benchmarks that, you know, hey, we should look into it. I'm not opposed to it at all. My problem is that stuff should be done on the front end, not on the back end when you're in the midst of doing business. Because what happens is when they do this, they send out all these emails that the seller's been, and then people start freaking out. So you're dealing with PayPal and eBay, and you're dealing with your customers who naturally are in a state of panic because no one wants to be screwed over. So I'm handling all this stuff. And what's cool is one guy calmed down and he's like, you got any more stuff? And yeah, and after he got his item, he's like, what else do you have? And I actually ended up selling him $20,000 worth of stuff outside of eBay, which was really nice. And then, you know, he let his other collector friends know about stuff, and we're just selling. Because, it, you know, long story short, that was the best unit that I didn't really talk about because, and I'm not going into too details because a very famous person owned that unit, or his relatives are famous, and it, you know, if it got out, it'd just be problems. But The whole net deal was well over six figures. Well over six figures when it's all said and done. But back to eBay and PayPal. The vetting process needs to happen on the front end, not in the midst of when you're doing business. Because if I wasn't a seasoned business person and if I didn't have reserves and money, I would essentially been out of business. And that's why you should never have one selling channel. You should never ever become so dependent upon eBay that if what happened to me happens to you, that you have no income, no resources, no money. That's a very, very bad position to be in. And I've seen it happen. I mean, there's tons and tons of story. I was doing well. Next thing you know, bam, my money's locked up. There's no Christmas. There's no rent payment. I mean, seriously, this is big stuff. So you should have a merchant account. And actually, I recommend if you're doing enough volume, you should have two or three from two or three different merchant providers. You know, because I had one at Costco, I had one with Bank of America. You want to have different ones because if anything happens, you want to have immediate backup. Because typically to get a merchant account, sometimes they can approve in 2 days, sometimes it takes a week. And then, you know, if you're going to do a gateway, then you got to have some people. It's better to have it in place when you don't need it than to need it and can't get it. And also, another thing with merchant accounts, when you fill out your application, whatever amounts, because they're going to ask you what is the average cost, what's your average transaction, you know. So my estimation to you, put high numbers. If you are doing like $25, $50 items, but you expect to be doing $500 items at some point in the near future, put 50 to 500. Because what's going to happen is if you start selling items that exceed what you put on your application, they're going to limit your merchant account. But the thing is, they actually kind of tell you this stuff. Well, my rep did. My rep actually spent an hour on the phone just saying this is this and this and asking very good questions. So I knew I was selling items anywhere from $25 up to $5,000. So that was what I got approved for, and I never had a problem with that merchant account for anything. But I'm going to tell you this, and it's something that for what I call eBay loyalists, they've been on there and they never had any problems and, you know, everything goes well. I'm going to be really, really arrogant, and I'm going to say that your business is small as shit. I'm going to say that. When I say small as shit, you might grow six figures. You're not in the seven-figure range, because anyone that has that type of scale, that type of exposure, has problems with PayPal or merchant accounts if they don't know what they're doing in eBay. There were several merchants that I used to follow back in the day, and one of them was Monster Pond. They were based out of Chicago. They did a phenomenal business. And I just noticed that a lot of these guys that were really, you know, making a lot, they're no longer on eBay. Now, if you've got a winning horse in a race, why would you dehorse it? They're no longer on eBay. And there's a reason, because you're only going to make so much money on eBay before you reach a point of diminishing returns. Because when you get to the point where your eBay fees are 5, 6, 7, 8 grand a month, that same kind of money actually, that's enough to buy you a storefront and hire one salesperson and have full control of your destiny, you know, barring whatever code enforcement or whatever regulations are in your particular municipality. But that is my thing. And when we reach that point, because I'll tell you, you know, some months already PayPal and eBay fees combined were between the 6, and I know 1 month it was 12 grand, but you know, we were making money. That's a lot of relisting, that's a lot of sales. So understand that when you're doing eBay and PayPal, always have your eye on that one day the Gestapo's going to come to the door and shut your shit down. Always have plan 2, plan 3, plan 4, plan 5, because I've noticed that PayPal has done a phenomenal job on convincing people that they're the best source and they're like everywhere. But I'm telling you, for a buyer, and there's risk, there's a lot of storage for buyers out there, but as a seller, I don't use it. You know, I'll be totally unvarnished. I'm completely biased against PayPal. I'm completely biased against eBay, and I don't sell anything on eBay, and I don't use my PayPal account. I still have one, but I don't use it. I'm just like, I cannot go to sleep at night knowing that I can have a killer night and make like $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000. Then the next morning, I gotta talk to somebody in some far-flung location who doesn't freaking speak English to get my fucking money back. I'm serious. I've never had those type of problems with merchant accounts ever. And ultimately, I got all my money from PayPal, everything. But it shouldn't be like that. It should not be like that. So, I want you to just listen to me, because the thing is, with all that being said, and with my personal bias, you can still make a gang of money using eBay and PayPal. In some cases, for some items, it may be essential, because you can't just move certain items to the flea market, like, pot holders. Like if you think of, or Lee Crochet pots and stuff. Someone may offer you $5 in your store, maybe $10 for it, and then take it and sell it on eBay for 100. So it does have a use, and it does have purpose, and it can make you money. However, it's kind of like, to me, having eBay and PayPal in your home is like having a rattlesnake in the home. As long as you got a cage, as long as you're monitoring it, you're good. But the minute you let that sucker free, you can wake up with a bite mark on your ass. So that's what I'm just saying, because e-commerce is really, really huge, and everybody's jumping in, and everyone's gearing up their websites and doing all this stuff. But I'm going to tell you something that may shock you. 90% of all business transactions, whatever that may be, happen offline. PayPal has like 100 million users, which is awesome. But last count, there's like 6 billion people in the world. And I'm going to say there's probably 2 billion that are in countries that, if they choose to use PayPal, they could. So that's 2 billion people there. That's 1.9 billion folks that are not using PayPal. And with the marketplace being as dynamic as it is, there's going to be some competitors coming, and they're going to bite into that share. And I applaud that, and I can't wait till it happens, because then PayPal is going to be more responsive on certain issues. Because typically, if you have a business and your transactions are under $25 and you sell a lot of low risk cheap shit, you probably won't have a problem with PayPal. But if you are selling that low risk cheap stuff, then all of a sudden you have $1,000 sale or $2,000 sale, you may run into some problems, which to me is just some BS. So use eBay, because I recommend it. But like I said, just remember, it's a rattlesnake in your home, and the minute you let it out the cage, there's going to be some very ill consequences. Because one of the things that I have to remind myself is, as great as e-commerce is, as great as the internet is, most of the world still does business offline. Think about that. There's just, everything's not online, and it's going to be decades before everything is. So you still need to have a foot in the physical world, talking to real people and actually using some tried and proven business practices. I'm just putting this out there as like a cautionary tale and a warning, because it happened to me 3 times. And the first time got it solved in a day. The second time, damn near a year. And the last time was a little longer. And the reason I didn't sue was there were other people suing, and it was just like, they were suing for the same thing. And once they won their lawsuits, then my money got released, because that's what really released my money, those lawsuits. So I'm like, why am I going to spend money when there's already another cat or a bunch of people spending money? And I just waited. But once again, I had the money to wait. I wasn't in a situation where I was ass out. But if you're just starting and you get a great unit, and something else, if you're getting your inventory from storage units, your PayPal income money could be all over the map because of what you get, because every month is different. So that's something that you should really, really be aware of. And Costco's a good merchant account provider. I'm saying, if you're doing $5 to $8 grand a month consistently in volume, just pay the money and get you another merchant account. Sign up for Square. And I love Square. I'm not having any problems with them. I can still give them a glowing recommendation, because they pretty much tell you what they're going to do to you up front. Understand, I'm not mad at eBay and PayPal for having, regulations. That's not the problem. It's just the fact that they kind of put them in the bag and hit you over the head with them when they choose to see fit, because you'll see one seller doing the same thing, nothing happens to him. This other seller does something a little different, next thing you know, he's shut down. That's a problem. But always, if you're going to make that type of capital investment and stuff, go ahead and build your own website. It's worth the time, it's worth the investment. And just diversify yourself, because you don't want to be in a position where you're ass out. All right, that's just from me to you, just letting you know what can happen and how you should be really judicious, because there's a lot of people that are switching all their merchant. And see, the thing is, PayPal's not a true merchant account, and they're switching all their credit card collections to PayPal. They've got PayPal virtual terminal if they still have it, the merchant account, and that's just like a lot of freaking risk, if you ask me. If you're a small seller or an occasional seller, you're probably going to be good to go. But if you aspire to get to the 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 grand a month in revenue, get yourself some other horses to run in the race, player. I'm serious, because if you don't, you're going to regret it. All right, this is Glendon. We're making money with storage unit auctions.